Some scary theories about space and the universe. Number 1. The theory that the universe will expand to the point that galaxies are so spread apart from one another that any sentient beings in those galaxies will believe their galaxy is the only one in the entire universe. They will be surrounded by an endless black void. Their entire universe will be their galaxy and the nothing that surrounds it. That's terrifying and baffling all at once. Number 2. That we didn't exist for billions of years in a void. That's a long time. Perception of time is a blink of an eye when you don't exist and suddenly do. Like you're an extension of the universe itself, really becoming self-aware of itself. What else are we but the very thing that is, which is the universe experiencing itself? Existence of everything in general of the universe is something we can never fathom, never explain, never quite understand, besides speculate. At least, not in our lifetimes. Number 3. Particles just pop into existence. And even weirder, they always come in pairs. Seems to make sense because they would neutralize each other. But if one particle spawns into existence inside the event horizon of a black hole and the other one spawns outside the horizon, then it's not neutralized and shoots off with a crap ton of energy. We use these unbalanced packets of magic energy to detect black holes. Seriously, the more you read about black holes, the more insane it actually is. The Big Bang might not be the first one. They say before the Big Bang is not a proper thing to say, because time started at that point. But did it? The universe is expanding, but maybe slowing down in its expansion. So it will probably stop expanding and start to contract at some point, returning to a singularity like the Big Bang. And there's no possible way to tell if this has happened 1,000 times before, because nothing can possibly cross the event horizon. So even if we have an absolutely perfect mathematical model of how the universe works, the model itself proves that we can't prove it. Number 4. Oscillating universe theory. Gravity will eventually slow, stop, and reverse cosmic expansion. The universe will end in a big crunch as all the energy in the universe collapses into a singularity, resulting in another Big Bang, over and over, on and on, ad infinitum. It's so goddamn elegant. All of this has happened before, and it will all happen again. Number 5. Conformal cyclic cosmology theory. My take is that our universe is a fractal one in which the probabilities play out at the smallest possible level, the zero space-time nodes. It is at that level that the collapsing wave front generating the flow of time occurs. We ride the wave front, straddling it between future and past. The probabilities are often so subtle we don't notice them as nearly infinite numbers of them occur every moment. Picture a grand butterfly effect through the entire universe. We pass these choices by every day, and many of them don't really affect us, except in such tiny and significant ways. The de Broglie bomb model of the universe, on which the CCC is built, shows that we can not only know the velocity of a particle, we can simultaneously know its location as well. This violates the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. In an Einsteinian universe, however, the mathematics says that de Broglie bomb is accurate. Then there's Banach-Tarski, which also hints at the fractal nature of the universe, by its postulation that an infinite number of fractal coordinates can be generated on the surface of a three-dimensional sphere, and an entire new set can be generated from nothing at all by simply rotating the spherical medium. There is nothing in the mathematics that prevents this from applying to a four-dimensional construct such as the universe we live in. This generative process occurs every moment of time at the quantum level, doing so in a fractal pattern that we have yet to uncover. Yet, We have circumstantial and subjective, unfortunately, evidence that this fractal pattern is real by the way that the mathematics works and can be used to describe the formation of mountains and trees, the same as it can be used to describe the formation of highways or solar systems. They all form according to natural patterns that resemble one another at different scales. All of nature proclaims the glory of God. Now, whether or not you're an atheist is irrelevant. All of nature proclaims this mathematical wonder. Mathematics is the language of the universe, and if God exists, it's his native tongue. For me, all these act like an interference pattern. Each by themselves is just noise in the background. When put together, however, suddenly, an orderly structure spontaneously appears in the chaos. Number 6. It's all one thing, exploring every possible configuration of being. The Big Bang is infinite energy in zero space-time. The heat death is zero energy in infinite space-time. Both infinities are coexistent on either side of an unorientable surface. When you reach the end of the heat death, where the last proton evaporates, and space is isotopically, infinitely flat and okay, the first antiproton emerges, and the time dimension's arrow begins tipping backwards, ever so slightly. Time as we know it begins to run backwards. But that isn't right. It's just looping the loop. There's only one electron-positron traversing every path, backwards and forwards, looping the loop. Mass is just this energy's shadow. A mathematician said once, a line is just a circle with a point at infinity. I think about that a lot. It seems right. The missing antimatter isn't missing. It's just opposite the direction our entropy arrow points towards. Black holes are recording devices. If everything ends up falling in black holes, and in falling matter is stretched out forever, then black holes are Tipler's omega points made real, forever recording the histories of our Masanaji, evaporating into Hawking radiation to be read out at the end of time as we know it. It's the Holland Andy Weir's egg. We're all the universe, and the universe is us. We're just the lenslets through which we perceive ourselves to be. Without us, there is no temporal perception. We must be born, and age, and grow, and die. Without that, we are ageless and timeless, and forever ignorant. You did ask for ridiculous, right? Number 7. One of mine is that black holes were the first stellar bodies to form in the early universe, and that galaxies formed around them, rather than stars forming first and taking the form of galaxies that would one day house a black hole at the center. I spent a while thinking about that and did some research, and it actually fills some gaps in current theories about the mass of the universe being accounted for. The idea is that the density of the early universe was more conducive to black hole formation than it is now. Despite formation being now possible through star collapse and after black holes formed, the dust around them got locked in their gravity and eventually coalesced into galaxies and stars. Number 8. There was no Big Bang. Universe was always there. It doesn't matter how much I think about it, I always reach the same conclusion. What does it mean for something to have begun at all? What was there before that something came to be? If the answer is nothing, what is nothing composed of? What does it mean for there to be nothing? Another thing is that the universe is infinite. If there is an end, what is there at the other side? If there's a huge wall, or whatever matter indicating the end, well then that has to have some kind of end. If it doesn't, then there's more universe on the other side. If there is an end, then the end has to be infinite, for the universe not to be infinite. This, however, means the universe is infinite, because that wall or whatever stops it can be thought of as part of the universe. I just think there's no way something can have an end, because there always has to be something on the other side. Perhaps the Big Bang wasn't the birth of the universe, but the birth of energy, matter in the universe. The universe could have always just been there as an infinite, incomprehensible nothingness, until energy manifested in its nothingness and rapidly cooled to shift into physical matter. And as for an infinite universe, what if the ends simply loop onto themselves, such as a donut-shaped universe? It would seem infinite, because you will never reach an edge or end. You'll just always continue on around the curve, in whatever direction you go. Fly straight from point A, and eventually you'll pull up behind point A, same as flying around the world. But then having a shape at all would imply that donut-shaped universe exists within something, because donuts have interiors, and if we were on the exterior, we can look up, yay. And so then the something that the donut is in can't be finite too, right? Our brains simply struggle to fathom infinity and eternity. Is it because these extremes don't exist outside of math, or because they're simply beyond our brains' realm of comprehension, since we're limited to experiencing this universe in 3 dimensions? Number 9. If you are inside a black hole, no matter what direction you attempt to travel, you only speed up your trajectory towards the center. You could say gravity is strong enough that light can't escape, but a more accurate statement would be that space is so warped inside a black hole that there literally aren't any space-time directions possible, except deeper. Every direction becomes the same direction, and that same direction is down. Number 10. Rather than of the universe of existence. What's the true form of things? We see things as they are, because of our senses. But what are their true objective features? It can't be a mathematical representation, because that's something we invented to understand physical properties. Unless math are a fundamental truth. To us, the vision of a dog is incomplete. They don't see as many colors as us, and they get blind easily. But for dogs, the smelling sense of a human is very incomplete, almost inexistent. Why would we argue that the human-filtered world is more real than the dog-filtered world? And what are the senses of us, animals, really filtering? What's the true shape of everything? Is it an array, a giant matrix of waves and particles? Perhaps if something could sense the objective reality, we would understand much better all our natural cosmos and unity, not a separated theory for every phenomenon. We can just imagine and represent such reality, but it is forever hidden from our sight, hearing, smell, etc. Number 11. It doesn't necessarily make my brain hurt, but it is something that is very humbling to me. You are as much the universe as anything else that exists, as much as the star that keeps us alive. We are simply an aware form of a small piece of the universe. We are the universe trying to discover itself in a way, trying to figure out how we work. There's never a need to feel insignificant. Everything, when taken as an individual, object or thing, is insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But insignificance is only a concept we created. The universe doesn't have an established order of importance. It just is. And in my opinion, that's a pretty liberating and almost comforting thought. The reality and time and consciousness I experience may be vastly different from others, but I am nonetheless a piece of everything. And what makes up me has been here since the beginning, if there is one. Number 12. For me, it's how living beings or creatures came from matter. How does matter go from having no life to having life? Not being sentient to being sentient. If you were to break down someone into their elemental pieces, carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, etc., those elements are not in of themselves living, thinking beings. It's crazy to believe the culmination of these elements and how they interact with each other is a living creature who grows and learns and understands and is aware. People are all made up of the same elements, but we are all so drastically different, physically and mentally. My mind just cannot comprehend. Number 13. Bell's theorem. Put a polarizing filter in between you and a light source so that 50% of the light gets through. Put another polarizing light filter oriented 900 from the first, such that 0% of the light gets through both filters. No, without moving those two filters, add a third polarizing filter in between the first two at a 45°, angle. Now light gets through. You added a filter that blocks light in between two filters that were already blocking all the light. Including this filter caused light to get through. Just how? Number 14. The content of a black hole's singularity. So like, the matter that was exceeded by its own Schwarzschild radius must still be in there and, in some sense, be the same mass energy that underwent gravitational collapse. What does the singularity look like? What would it feel like if touched? We know the answers to these questions are nothing, mathematically, because the gravity is too intense to let information transfer at all. If light can't escape, then the singularity is effectively timeless. Nothing can happen there. The singularity must still physically exist, but it doesn't have the same temporal properties of existence that our brains can intuit. Number 15. The fact that it is infinite. When you think about this, the probability of life elsewhere is literally 100%. But not only that, given infinite space, there must be some planet very similar to ours. And given infinite space, there must be, somewhere, a planet with someone on it very similar to me. But, given infinite space, there must also be someone just like me, typing something on Reddit. Just because truly infinite space means infinite possibilities. We don't need a multiverse if we have infinite space. Number 16. The fact that we truly could just be alone. It's not even how big the universe is. It's how we as humans perceive time. The universe is here to stay for a long, long, long time. Yes, when we think about it, it seems like surely there is some other species out there, but there doesn't have to be. We've not been here even for a fraction of the universe's lifetime, and it's impossible to search all of the universe for life, but even if we could, there's no guarantee there is something out there. Number 17. That we are so small and insignificant that if we was to disappear, if anything more than us is out there, would it even know we ever existed? How do we really know that we aren't just a life form like a microbe, and that there is a much larger life form, like a tick? If it was capable of intelligent thought, wouldn't, I'm guessing, think it would be able to circumvent the globe? Yet if we put it in our pocket and climbed aboard a plane, it could be there in a day. Is it possible that we are the tick in this universe, and there is something that could do this to us? Oh, the things I think about. Number 18. The single electron theory. It's basically saying that all electrons are just the same electron moving through time forwards, and that backwards in until the start and end of time. Passing backwards, it is antimateria. Each time it passes through time forward, it seems like it's a new electron, but it's just the same one. That's why they seem identical. It's because they might be the same single one. I also like the theory that all molecules can pass through each other. Because of the holes between electrons and atom core, the chance of one object passing through a different one is just way too low, but possible. Number 19. Did anybody else come here to talk about tachyons? They've never been directly observed, but they're theoretically possible. They travel faster than light, which effectively gives them a negative mass and reverse causality. If one flies by you, you won't be able to see it coming. But when you enter its light cone, you'll see two versions of it emerge from nowhere and zip away from each other in a straight line at the speed of light. One image is from the light, reflected by its approach finally reaching you after the particle already passed. and the other is the light reflected back at you as it goes. Hypothetically, if you built a sniper rifle that could fire tachyons at 1 light-year per second, you could take a position 1 light-year from your target, fire at their year-old image, and the bullet would travel back through time and hit them when they were in that position. Number 20. The universe tricked a collection of chemicals to interact in such a way that they tended to self-replicate their organized structure, and continued to increase in complexity against the tendencies of entropy. It continued to gain density and complexity until a living organism formed. That organism continued to evolve in such a way that an inherent consciousness formed that could think and learn. Its ability to think and learn developed to the point that it was able to invent abstract concepts like language and literacy that it is using to read this comment. You are one of those self-replicating consciousness. Your consciousness is the most complicated thing in the universe. It is generated by a supercomputer that runs on approximately 20 watts of power and can be fueled by lettuce. That's about 1/3 of the power draw of an incandescent light bulb, with the ability to calculate the equivalent of 1 billion calculations per second, thousands of times better than our best supercomputers can simulate. You are an accidental science experiment of the universe. You are the result of the universe forgetting a sandwich under its car seat for too long until stuff started growing on it. Your experience comes with the baked-in inability to comprehend what the non-existence that came before you were born, or will come after you die, is like. All meaning, including what is good or bad, right or wrong, is assigned by our collective consciousnesses. These concepts do not exist outside of our heads, or anywhere else in the universe. After reading all these answers, I came to a conclusion how useless and pointless our existence is. It is a frightening and beautiful thought at the same time. To put it in the comforting words of Katie Mack, I want to make it mean something to you, that you are in the cosmos, that you are of the cosmos, that you are born from stardust, and to stardust you will return, that you are a way for the universe to be in awe of itself. That is all for today. If you have enjoyed this video, do you like and subscribe? I post once a week or more. You can also subscribe to my Patreon below to support me. Hope you have an absolutely amazing day, and hope you will check my other videos on screen.